We'll get underway. Awesome. Hey, everyone, it's John Bellamy here, and welcome to my latest expert interview. Today, I'm super excited. I've got Jase Webster with me. Hey, Jase, how's it going?
Hey, John. I'm super excited too, mate.
Yeah, awesome. How long have we known each other now? I was saying on that, I'm not sure if you saw the video when I put the teaser out for it, but I reckon it must be close to 10 years now, I reckon, that we've known one another. It'd have to be close.
Coming up to, yeah. So showing our age now.
Yeah, I know, it's getting crazy. But yeah, for those of you who know myself and Jase, we met way back at I think it was a Jeff and Kane event, industry rockstar event, like way back with Universal Events and all of that back in the day, doing a fair bit of personal development, which was cool. But Jase, the reason I got you on the call today was, as you're aware, we work with a whole bunch of small, medium enterprises. That's where my bag is. I've got investments in a couple of businesses, from our LinkedIn marketing side through to our cyber intelligence, and then over to the International Academy of Wealth. And what I'm looking to do with these interviews is really just to speak to those small business owners and just ultimately just take them into the trenches and give them some ideas and support them along their journey, wherever that is. My whole thing is connecting with 30,000 SMEs by 2026, helping them to connect, grow and protect their business and wealth. So for me, I know, like, based on conversations that we've had, the stuff that I see you do online, when it comes to building JVs, joint ventures, strategic partnerships, you're that guy. So that's what I wanted to pick your brain about today, which would be cool. But before we jump into it, can you just give everyone a bit of an overview, like your background, what you've been doing, where are you up to? And I know you're moving and all of that at the moment too, so thanks for taking the time out.
Yeah, sure. I'm currently just moved from Tasmania, living on a farm, back to Brisbane City. So quite a contrast, but it's good to be amongst, everyone. Instead of doing all these Zoom calls now, I've got 3 meetings on the Gold Coast next week in person. So all from our elite marketers group. So it's exciting to be belly to belly. A little bit of my background. Where I really learned what I do today. If I look back to the foundations of it, it came back probably when I started the business at 18, but when I went into the police force and did police intelligence at the Divisional Intelligence Unit. And it was all about, obviously, gathering information and data prior to actually, implementing strategy and actually executing. So it's always about having that weight behind you before you actually, take the action. And it's important to take action, assertively as well. But the more information that you have, the better.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love it. And we won't go too far into your policing side, because that was down in Victoria, right? So we're just going to leave that one right there. No, joking.
The Wild West down there.
the Wild West down there. But no, that's awesome, because 100%, and I mean, we should definitely pick your brain on that. But just the exposure, that human element, the conversations that you would have had, exactly like you said, you can extract so much knowledge and gives you that ability to shape so many different areas of your life.
Absolutely.
And I think that to me, sorry, Jase, to me, that's sort of like that deal maker energy as well. That's sort of where like you're having those conversations and those negotiations, which is fantastic, right up your alley.
100%. I was just going to say, at the core of it, believe it or not, is nothing strategic, but just genuinely caring. And that's it, just have a genuine care for the individual that you're speaking to, and that's it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's oftentimes, like when I'm speaking to clients on like the LinkedIn marketing side, for example, and they'll talk about the difference between like LinkedIn and Facebook, and LinkedIn's for just CEOs and all these business owners. And I'm like, yeah, but they're a real person. And that's what I love what you're saying there. It's you're speaking to, it's being compassionate with where they are and actually connecting with that human behind it. Yeah, which is awesome.
A little bit of a side trick, if you do, and LinkedIn is the prime place for it, is just get their profile up before you actually pick up the phone. And I do know that, there's certain people that do have to, smash the phones out, and that's their role. But if you do get their image, you can actually build it's a bit woo-woo, but There's a connection type thing there, and it actually helps you resonate more when you're actually on the phone to them, because you're actually talking to a human. You can visually see it, and it's almost like that influences the call.
Yeah,
but we're talking
100%.
JVs.
We're talking JVs, but no, you're 100% right. I mean, do your bloody research, right? Do your research.
Yeah,
like that's what it is. All right, so let's get into the JV strategic partnership side. What I want to start with was like why JVs, why strategic partnerships, why that, and why did you find yourself going down this track?
Good question. So once again, intelligence gathering. Years ago, I was amongst the gurus working in the digital marketing space. Whilst it's great, I saw certain patterns and trends happening. One, censorship. Two, pay to play, which is increasing costing due to supply and demand, like Google. And then number three, the amount of people that are just talking absolute trash and just selling anything, and it's just not good. And then four, algorithms. Why would you put all your business's eggs in one basket? But don't mind me, right on the flight path. So there's a plane flying right on. Yeah, it is what it is. But so identifying that businesses were getting their pages shut down, and I'm like, okay, I'm all about taking control as much as possible, and it comes to its pros and cons, but taking as much control as possible. How can I influence my business and get the greatest advantage or access to the marketplace without having to pay so much money, without taking on so much risk, or leaving it to someone else? How can I influence that? And the answer always came back down to joint venture partnerships and strategic alliances, host beneficiary relationships, and whatever other name you want to give it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think, just to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, what you're not saying is, you're not saying that all these other methods like paid ads and all of those things are bad. You're just saying that you need to be open and in control of the pathways. So if you are doing advertising, if you're doing email marketing, whatever that looks like, this is like the JV strategic partnerships. This is another feather in the cap. It's another belt on the chain. Yeah. So
absolutely. I would never, ever, say that this is not the way, and everything works as long as you make it work. Right.
100%. Yeah. I love it. So I think, I love that you're saying the control aspect, and it's not about being a control freak, but as a business owner, at the end of the day, the buck stops with us, right? If we're the sole proprietor, or even if we've got a team under that, or if we've got a family, it doesn't really matter. If, as the business owner, the buck stops with you, you got to take that full ownership, because the last couple of years with COVID and all of those things has proven that even more so. You can't rely on anybody or when we're talking about marketing, or any one platform or process. You've got to sort of spread that out wide, which is why I'm excited for this. So tell me about that. I think probably the big thing is, there's a couple of things I want to cover. I want to cover about how do people get in and structure those joint venture relationships. But I think even more importantly, and I'd be interested, because I know you have a gazillion calls with business owners around this, what makes a quality JV relationship? Because I feel like that's probably the most important thing. Unless people are winning out of it, what's the point?
Right. Well, the simple answer is, every JV starts at the first point of contact, as in, you want to have an established relationship. It can fall apart at any stage through the whole process, but maintaining a relationship that is, one, built on trust, but two, people take their own responsibility. They take on exactly, and there's clear boundaries and expectations around who's doing what. That's important. And then three, actually taking action. Now, one of the core problems that typically happens is, and this is what I find, is the numbers. And the numbers have to be equal, fair, somewhat fair within the partnership. And it has to be really adding a lot of value to the end user or the customer, the ultimate buyer. So how it's fair is typically a win-win-win situation. A win to you, win to the host, depending on who the host or the beneficiary is. And the distinction of that is, say you've got a product side and a list side to a partnership. Product side is going to get distribution through the list. The list would then be the host. You would be the beneficiary as the product side. So it has to be fair and that can be calculated at different things. But typically the individual one with the database is seen as the most valuable in that position, because they're giving access to their data, which is something that they've spent a lot of money building, a lot of time building the relationship. So that's important. You've got to really respect that. So it has to be win-win-win, and there always has to be communication and transparency.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I just want to dive into that, because I think this is such an important conversation around, like, particularly, like, everyone goes, well, what do I pay? Right. And how do I feel that it is a win-win? And how do I feel that I'm not being ripped off as the business owner? Like, I've got a margin that I'm working with. And for me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but for me, where the biggest problem more than likely happens is based on a small business owner actually not knowing what it costs them to acquire a customer now, today. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. You've got to be around that, because that's that depends. Like, that indicates cash flow, that and everything. It's like that's so important. It's answering your question on that one. The typical calculation that I look for, and based on experience, and I just sometimes the fly pass that way, sometimes it's that way.
You're a good mate. You're a good.
So how from experience, what I've identified is that 15 to 20% is usually the sweet spot, and it all comes down to, okay, what are the costs and everything like that. But if we just have a generic example for the audience, 15% to 20% is the sweet spot. If you go 10%, typically you're taking too low, because you're either delivering on the product or you're marketing to your audience, and it's not enough. But 25% and higher tends to have a certain period of time of which it's okay, but then say at 12-month period, the person's like, oh man, I'm paying this guy for this, and I'm working so hard, but it was like he only worked once back then, and the relationship can deteriorate if you don't maintain it.
And this directly relates to that win-win-win, right? All of a sudden, there's an imbalance in that cycle.
Correct.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, and I feel like it's 100% on a case-by-case scenario. Like, probably always. Like you, I get approached all the time going, John, I want to refer business to you, but I want 50%. And I'm like, mate, there's not a chance I'm paying you 50%, because there'd be no money left. And it's not an online course. And even if it was an online course, what are you getting? The other challenge I personally have with it, and this is why I wanted to discuss it with you as well. And it's not necessarily a challenge with the right person, the right strategy, but it's like, I'm pretty good at knowing what our cost to acquire a client is. And I know that there's going to be a lot of small businesses that are in that same boat, but as many as there are, there's probably 10-fold, if not 100-fold, that have got no idea. But when someone comes to me and says, oh, I want it in perpetuity as well, like I want it every single year they renew, I want X amount of dollars, you sit there and you go, well, hold on a second. Like, as an example, I know I can go and just put money straight into a LinkedIn ad or a Facebook ad and acquire my client. Now, building that JV partnerships it's a completely different strategy, so you've got to approach it differently. But what have you noticed there? Have you noticed that you mentioned like that 15 to 20%, for example? But have you noticed that then if you drop it down on renewal, or are people happy if it's just a one time? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
it can go either way. It really
Yeah,
depends
perfect.
on as you
Yeah,
just as you said it. I mean, it comes
yeah,
down to the model and the margins, and then the longevity, and these are the conversations that need to be had. And this is where, whilst JVs and strategic alliances are I believe, the number one way to market, Jay Abraham would concur. There is nuances and little things that go along the way that need to be thought out and spoken about, or else it just doesn't
yeah.
work.
Yeah, and I think like for me,
Mm.
it's a conversation, right?
100%.
And that's how you're going to get the win-win. And
A
the
thorough one.
last, yeah, a thorough one. And I
Yeah.
think that like the last thing you want is to
Mm.
enter into the conversation or enter into an agreement where parties aren't happy. You're better off just not having the agreement, right?
Mm.
Or else just it's not going to end well.
Yeah. Pushing shit uphill from the beginning is not good.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. So you've got planes going by. I've got cockatoos, about 30 of them out the tree out the front. So I'm not sure if that's coming through the audio, but if
I can
anyone
hear
can
it.
hear some screeching, yeah, it's cockatoos, people. It's all good. There's a gazillion of them in Sydney, so it's hilarious. So when it like bringing it back, so it needs to be that win-win-win. We need to calculate the cost. At what point? I think is then like people are going to be thinking, should I be entering in a JV now? Am I actually ready for that? Is my business ready for that? Like at what point does a business need to really go, this is a strategy that we should be looking at?
Well, one, if they've got the resources, it's always a strategy that should be looked at. Number two, if they don't have the resources, but they're willing to put in the work and say they're in a startup and they could gain access to an established, matured business and that's complementary and they can really add value, then I'd say go for it because it can scale your business quite significantly. But then you've got the issue of being resourced, like having the right resources to handle the amount of work that comes in, which is typically a challenge that does occur, but there's other ways around that as well. This is quite like you're asking some really detailed and good questions, man. Like this is not often. No, it's good because I'm like, oh, this is yeah. The typical intelligence guy, though, of course, that would be it would be the questions you get. I feel like I should have come prepared.
I want a conversation, Jase. I want a conversation.
Yeah,
so this is good. So because like I'm assuming, right, that it's once again, it's like it's that path of it's that path. You could possibly jump in way too early, have it be successful, but the success is a detriment to your long-term success because you just blown a partnership because all of a sudden they've thrown 50 leads at you or whatever it might be, and you're not geared to be able to handle it. Yes. And then once again, if we've got that golden triangle of a win-win-win, there's a side of the triangle that's being let down. But then you've got the other side where you're potentially, you're too rigid. You've got like you're very set in your ways and too rigid and not open to looking at this as an opportunity. And then therefore your little piece of the triangle falls out of it. So I think it's a really interesting dynamic. Can we talk about your business? Because I know like for you, like right now, you're going through that whole scaling journey. And as part of that, you're really going, shit, okay, for us to go to that next level, I need to go and systemize, right? And I think this is an interesting field, right? Because I know people will watch this and they'll go, shit, you know what? I probably need to speak to Jase. So I probably want to have that JV side of things working, and like that's it. Like even just the little things is like systemizing the agreement process. Like that's all fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm building it all out at the moment and taking what's up here and putting it down because I've spent so much time in the trenches just doing the work. There's now it's time for me to like scale up and I've been holding it off, but it's time to do it. And now I'm shifting to looking at shifting to different models. But yeah, my time is fully occupied with working predominantly with clients, in it with them. And
Yeah.
I love it. And that's also a problem.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your day, like you as the JV expert, like putting people together.
Oh, wow.
What are you doing? Because I think a lot of people have this misconception that it's something easy to do, and they probably
really?
don't understand the process. Like, well, like people go, oh, I'll go and get a referral partner, and I want to be clear.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is completely different to a referral partner.
Oh, yeah.
It's so different.
Levels above that.
Yeah. So like if someone was to engage you as as their JV consultant, JV coach, however you want to position that, like talk them through the process, because I think it'd be really interesting for people to understand it.
Okay, so the first step in the process, someone approaches me. One is I'm always qualifying them to see whether there's no glass ceilings, because once a glass ceiling's hit, I become null and void anymore. And the biggest problem for myself is I get cut off when I'm successful. So because people are like, we can't handle this anymore. So I'm always looking for scalable companies. Number two, when I'm taking my clients through a process, I start with, depending on who they are, because a lot of them have got their copywriting, they've got their positioning in the marketplace down pat, and they're the ones I prefer to work with because I could just go straight to work more immediately. But if some people do need to align themselves to the target that they're going for, and position accordingly. So get clear on the target that we're going for, because we're not just going to have a machine gun approach. It's, sniper in the bell tower, in the cylinder, lick of the, then we're going for brass, right? So exactly right. So we want that targeted. We want the highest, most valuable potential client that renders the most yield, not just profit, meaning minimal effort for maximum return. So that's what we target. We go for that profile. From there, we then start collating and exploring ideas together on who would be the ideal partner that has that profile at scale, not just one or two. We're talking at scale. And then we start building a list. And then I use a software, data, and it's all white hat. So, people go, isn't that black hat? Data extraction. No, it's everything sourced from open. You can probably come up with the term, but
it's public domain.
That's the word. There we go. That's your skill set coming in. So I gather all that information, use tools in order to get private information, and then from there we will then do a minimal viable offer. What are we going to give to them that's make them going to go, wow, this is compelling, and yes, it will serve my market. And then the next step is pick up the damn phone and make those calls. And then as time progresses, and that's what I do, I pick up the phone and then I, talk to the decision makers. I don't go through the gatekeepers. I don't go around the back door or any of that crap. I barely do any emails. I just and just make it happen. I don't have any special software. My whole business is run off a notebook and pen. I work with tech companies. They give me their CRMs. I don't use them. I'm very old school, hence why I need to systemize. But it's like, so that's how I operate, and it's very lean. And I know that anyone could do what I do and be good at it, because it's no cost to start doing it, and anyone can do it. However, it takes a level of experience in order to, sail the waters and navigate those.
Well, I see. It's a simple process, right? As far as identify, be laser clear on who you want to target, go find out who they actually are, get their contact details, pick up the phone and have a bloody conversation that's valuable, right? So it's a simple process, but it is nowhere near remotely easy. Like nowhere near remotely easy. Like people won't even pick up the phone and call somebody off the back of LinkedIn when they've messaged them to say, I would like to have a conversation with you. People won't even pick up the phone and do that. So this is why. So don't, please don't undervalue yourself. And I know you don't, but I want, don't think for a minute that yes, the process is a simple one, but it's quite bloody valuable, and people should be happy to pay you tooth and nail to get it working for them, because we're not talking about $100 transaction here, right? For these JV opportunities. I mean, you wouldn't work with them if it wouldn't be worthwhile.
It's all high margin,
yeah.
6-7 figures type stuff. Then
Yeah.
sometimes 5, that's the 5-figure stuff's the lower end.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's great. So I mean, it's really getting through that process, because I know people will be sitting there going, hey, I can probably go and implement this strategy myself. And you're right, you probably can. You can, but why haven't you done it already? There's a lot of the time.
Resources, knowledge.
Yeah. And I think, and I know we're talking off camera before, and I know it's not ready to launch yet, but I know you are developing a program, correct, where you're actually going to walk people through and hold their hand if they were going to want to go and build that. So, I mean, that's definitely something that, people should get in contact with you about as well, from that aspect.
100%. So, I've got to pull myself out of the trenches. That's that's all right, mate. We'll just get some systems in place and you'll be fine.
Thanks. Hey, so I just wanted to change gears really quickly, and I wanted to talk about, like, and I don't expect you to disclose who they are or anything like that, but like what's been a really good example of just a quality JV partnership that you've been able to, they've worked with you and you've been able to get them into, because I think it'd be really great to quantify some of the efforts.
Okay, I'll give you 3 examples from different industry verticals. So that way it can paint different pictures, right? So I'll leave the business coaches out of this one for now, because I would imagine there's a lot of business coaches on the call, but I'm going to park that one. And I'm going to go with, so I've got a client who runs an organization called Living Legacy Forest. And what that in a nutshell is, instead of cemeteries, he's created a patent technology that puts seeds in trees and ashes become regenerative molecules so you can grow trees. Partnership recently set up was an organization in regenerative agriculture called EcoForce. Boom, right there. It's synergistic access to land, access to land type. There's a lot of stuff involved in that. So that's just one example. A climate based organization that's been around for years, tree planting. And you can go as far as other land conservation organizations with memberships, anything like that. Next example, vegan baby formula company with a ecologically friendly or eco nappy company, where the synergies there, vegan baby formula targeting mums, eco nappies targeting mums.
Perfect.
Similar ideology, same thought patterns behind it. Hey, plant-based. Hey, plant-based. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So there's that, and then the other example that I can give is where I'm currently living with my clients at the moment. He's got a software company called Reach Ecosystem, culture and capability. Bang, Deloitte.
Yeah.
How I did that, CEO.
Picked up the phone.
Came up. How you going, man?
I love it. You just make it sound so easy.
How'd you get my number?
Yeah. Hi, it's Jase here. You're about to spend a lot of money with my partners. So that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So
with that, by the way, I don't expect that you go straight to the top like that and get anywhere, but there's a rule of thumb here. And the rule of thumb is I rather climb down the ladder from the top than climb up, try and so start at the bottom and climb up. I'd rather just start at the top and work my way down if I have to.
It also, for me, it comes back to the old saying, like, your ideal clients are buying from someone right now. It may just not be you. Okay. And more than likely, the reason that they're not buying from you is because they don't know who you are, because you're too selfish in your own right to do something as simple as pick up the phone or reach out to them. And yes, I said selfish. Yes, I did say selfish, because you can call it, oh, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. I'm like, no. You're too selfish to put yourself out there. I'm scared of failing. Bullshit. You're scared of actually being successful. And I think that's the big thing. All of us have experienced that, right? Including myself. You know, we've all experienced that. It's not right or wrong. It's just that a process, and it's a frame of life. But that's what I love about you. You just zero core reluctance. Pick up the phone, dial. What are they going to say? No. Okay, next. You know.
I get that a lot too.
yeah, I'm sure you do. Like, it's part of the process. Like, rejection's just all part of it. That's awesome. So there are a couple of really good examples. Can you give us one, like an example where for whatever reason it just didn't work? And what was that? What was that telling point for you going through that process where it was just, you know what? This has not been a complete waste of time, but there's been a learning through that process to go, you know what, if I find this type of company again, I'm just not even going to entertain the opportunity.
Okay. It's a good one. First of all, I've learned from experience in taking on the wrong clients.
Yep.
Okay, so you can hand them as much gold as possible, but if they don't see it, then they're not gonna do anything with it. So, the ability for me to have the best effect comes down to the individual I'm advocating for and endorsing. And if I can't sit on a call and introduce them to someone and feel comfortable, then it just doesn't work. So the core area is don't work with shit people. Number one. Saying that, so you're looking for an example where things just didn't work and the pin was pulled. Yeah, look, I've put together partnerships for clients and it's happened more than once. If the other team isn't intrinsically motivated in order to treat this project as its own entity in itself, then once again, just don't try and force it. And yes, you know, at the start of a partnership, it can be really exciting because there's so much potential and possibility, but without the correct management, because it does take work. So without that, then you've got, you know, what becomes possibility very much diminishes into nothing. And you've got to get real. There is work and things that you have to do from ideation to implementation and then improvement.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because I think, once again, like if we take that all the way back to what we were talking about in the beginning about the process, like if there's no process or system in place, they're not ready to scale, or there is a process and a system, but they're too rigid in their ways. It can, you know, make or break quality partnership, right? And this is what it is. It's a partnership.
100%. I will say though that I have put partnerships together with, like, in the beginning, and I try and avoid as much detail as possible, believe it or not. So, but in the beginning, I was putting partnerships together and just winging it. And that's sometimes how you start.
That's how you start a business. Headline 3 bullet points go.
You know what you're doing, and you know that you can deliver and everything like that. But sometimes you are, you know, you're testing things. You're like, oh shit, all right, I'll just give this a shot. And partnerships came together, and there was success, and there was minimal process development throughout it. But I'm always about, okay, well, how do you dial it in so much so that it's more predictable and it's proven predictability. So I've built it down to more of a predictable structure, and I'm constantly refining and refining and refining to a point where I can go, here's everything that you need, man. Like, go out and do what I do, because eventually I'm going to have to hire someone, and that's the tough part of, like, not knowing how to hire someone to do what I do. So like, this is what I'm processing at the moment, so I can go here, and I can also go to a business owner if you want to do this. And so here it all is.
Here's the manual.
Me doing it. So I'm at that stage.
Yeah, I
It's
love it, man.
exciting, but yeah.
It's exciting, and you pull your hair out at the same time, and you feel like you
Hmm.
get the steps forward and the steps back. It's the whole journey, right? What I
Hmm.
was going to say, like for people, for small business audience, right? For them thinking about right now, okay, I've listened to Jase, I've heard John carry on with his little rants as well.
Hmm.
But if I'm considering going and implementing this strategy, like
Hmm.
like I don't think it's something that you could go half-assed in, right? And people do this
No.
all the time with all marketing strategies, and they should never do it. But what would be that minimum time frame commitment to go, you know what, I'm great, I'm going to develop a JV, strategic partnership strategy for my business.
Mm.
And I'm going to, do whatever those actions, going to make the calls, do all of these things, engage you, whatever that might look like. But what time frame should it be? Like 6 months, 12 months? I know the ultimate time frame is I'm going to commit to it for the longevity of my business, but for that testing period, if I'm going to put my attention or resource somebody else's attention, what should
Three,
it look
three,
like?
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Yep.
Moving very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I put a guarantee with my clients that if I don't get them an ROI within 3 months, then I work for free continuously after that.
Yeah.
For until I do, and
Yeah.
that's moving really fast, and that's really been like ballsy. So,
Yeah.
because some take years, so but that's the cost that I'm willing to bear.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do if I have to.
Yeah.
But 3 months is typically it. If anyone wants to go out and do it right now and give it a shot,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, okay, if you're willing to commit to it, then I would only I would do a basic exercise and go, okay, who's my customer that I'm going after, my client, my ideal client avatar, and then just write a list of 5 to 10 people that you believe would have them, and then
Mm-hmm.
pick up the damn phone and have a conversation and go, hey man, I'm looking to do a partnership. And then you can even sacrifice 100% on the front end if you're low cost. Most people aren't, but to gain on the back end because you're generating leads for free, or you can come up with a deal that's going to work. But
Yeah.
leads are better than no leads, right? Some leads are better than no
100%.
leads. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I just want to summarize what you said there. Like for someone just starting out, you mentioned just number one, who's your target customer? So that one target customer, not anybody
Mm-hmm.
with a heartbeat and a credit card, that's not going to bounce. That's not a
Get
customer.
ultra clear. Get ultra
Yeah.
clear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that target customer, go and then identify, okay, who essentially can give me access to more of those target customers, and identify 5 to 10
Mm-hmm.
people. You might have the organizations, but you want the people that you're speaking to within those organizations, not
Yeah,
just,
the
I know it's
decision
this
maker.
business. It's who is it that I need to speak to, and
Yep.
then get cracking and start speaking to them. So on that, then, like, let's say I've had that conversation and they're like, oh, well, great. I'm open to it. Can you send me more information on it? Because the old usual information. Would you then, like, maybe not you, like with what you're doing, but would a small business or someone doing it themselves, would it be worthwhile for them to have some type of templated, maybe it's a video, maybe it's a page or a document that actually just clearly articulates that partnership, like what you're looking for, that win-win-win scenario, just to sort of shorten the curve? Like you're still making that touch points. We know ultimately you want the phone call, you want a meeting about it, whatever. But if we need to bridge that gap between them, keep them warm, that'd be important. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got templates and everything that I can
Perfect.
share with people. My favorite template that I work with my clients and excites them the most is the opportunity evaluator one. And the opportunity evaluator measures yield. So when you get really good, and eventually, as Richard Branson says, opportunities are like buses. There's one coming every 10 seconds or whatever. Eventually, you got to get good at, okay, what is the one that's going to render the most yield, meaning maximum return for minimal time, resources, and cost, right?
Yeah.
Those three
Love it.
measurements. And that's the exciting one to work with, because it enables you to measure and go, well, out of this one, I can make 100 grand for this amount of work. And this one, I can make 500 grand for the exact same amount of work.
Yeah.
Which opportunity do you go for, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be based on whether you like someone or not. Sometimes in partnerships, it's not just about, having
the math's got to work, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And some of the best people I work with, we barely, like, there's no like friendly rapport. I mean, there's trust, but there's no like jovial banter. It's just like, okay, well, this is what we're doing, and bang. Like, I don't get on well with them as much as, someone like yourself, where I could talk to you for hours, but it's still the same thing.
It's a business relationship. It is.
Correct.
You're doing what you're doing. Yeah. That's they're engaging you to get a result, and that's what you're doing, which is great. Well, I love it. I think I mean that resource, if that's something that you'd be open to sharing or anything like that, that would be fantastic. So what I'll do, it might take a week or something like that, unless you've got it ready to share it with everybody. Perfect. So if anyone wants the resource, just, if you're watching this in the live stream, just drop a comment and we'll get it over to you.
You know what I will give the sales and marketing audit. And I know that a word audit is a bit extreme, but because my target market, not allergic to the word audit. And this one, it's got key questions that'll help you identify hidden assets within your organization and business already that can be maximized. Therefore, because everyone's already sitting, there's another part to my model, but the other part of my model is identifying what you've already got underneath your nose and then scaling that up without even, doing anything really much to it. So there's that one as well, which is a sales and marketing audit. And that's a good one to go through yourself and explore and answer these questions. But you will need someone to look at it and go, like someone that gets the process and goes, okay, well, you've said this, what are you doing around here? And did you know that there's this amount of money left on the table here? That one's a good one too for, I use that in my maximizer clients, which is all back end stuff. Yeah. So there's front end, back. There's another conversation, but
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That'll be great value. Hey, Jase, so what I want to do, I want to just start wrapping up the call, because I know we've been going for about 40, 45 minutes or so. So just to summarize from what I took away, and I want to get your words on it as well. So for me, what I took away from this, and there's so much great value here, is number one, like regardless of what marketing strategies you're using right now, paid, unpaid, any of those referral billboards, whatever, like you've really got to start to think about like a JV strategic partnership opportunity there, because it's one of those things that should actually probably become a foundational strategy in your business, assuming you're ready for it. That should be resourced, because once again, it's going to give you with the right partnerships, going to give you very quick growth opportunities that come from that. So that's from the strategy perspective. And for me, then the immediate action. So if someone was just listening to this and they're going to go, yep, great, I'm going to take care of it myself, or give it a crack. You mentioned number one, getting clear on making the decision. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to commit to it for a minimum of 3 months. Getting very clear on that one target market. Don't pick many, pick one target market, and then identify those minimum sort of 5 to 10, I would say, companies and individuals within those companies, the decision makers who could put you in contact with those people that you want to get in contact with, and then pick up the damn phone. You might send an email, you might do a LinkedIn message as well, but pick up the phone, make the effort. Do the grunt work. Am I missing anything there, or like what else would you love to add on that?
After the fact, you're going to have to come up with something of value in order to compel them. But picking up the phone is the most important thing, and getting that feedback and that references. And sometimes you can just wing it as you go, and it's good. You just play, and you'll work it out as time progresses. You get more feedback, and you'll be able to go, yeah, okay, this is exactly what I need to do. Because a lot of these people aren't just money orientated or money motivated. A lot of them is about reputation and looking good in the eyes of their customer. Sometimes they'll just refer because they see that you're giving something of value and they won't want anything for it. And that happens quite a bit too. So that's,
I love it. And I think that the final word from me on that before we close is I call it like it'd be like that golden triangle, right? It's that win-win-win. And it's all got to be in balance, because if it's out of balance in any one of those areas, the partnership, whilst it might last for a little while, you're not going to get that longevity, and maximum return or at maximum outcome, whatever that might be, profitability, whatever it might be, from that perspective. So Jase, like, thanks so much for taking the time out today, because I know you got heaps on with the move and all of that. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, what I'll do is they can comment below this post. I'll also put a link underneath this post. And if they just want to organize a call with you and also grab those resources once you've got them, you okay to doing that?
Yeah, man, 100%. I'll give you my link. It's Calendly, which is, the most basic, but
put some in your calendar, mate. Put some in your calendar. That's great. It's not notebooked. He's got a digital calendar, people. I love it.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, I love it. So anybody who wants to get their hands on those resources and have a conversation with Jase about some JV strategies and where he might be able to guide you, or even get on that waiting list for when Jason launches his coaching program around that, there'll be a link underneath this video, so you can go check that out. Jase, once again, thank you so much for taking the time out today. It's always great, and I can't wait when I'm back on the coast and we'll be able to catch up again, which will be fantastic. That'll be awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Jase. See you guys.
Ciao. Bye.